spreading rapidly. At this point in time, we know of only one method of killing the creatures, or destroy the brain. Be on the guard of any loved ones who may have recently been in any sort of contact with the affected. And if you find yourself in a threatened position, please do not hesitate to act. Again, this is not a test. This is not a joke. We as a species are overwhelmed.
Our species is on the brink of devastation every day. Every World Health Organization knows that it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when a new pandemic will wipe us out. One of those very real possibilities is a virus, bacteria, or parasite that would infect our body, turning us into the savage, mindless beings that we commonly refer to as zombies. Here we're going to tell you about the basic survival skills that you need to know and the equipment that you need to take and the different forms of protection. Also the general ethics that will arise when the world goes under, so you can be better prepared for when the virus takes hold. There are a few common beliefs for how the disease could take over. Everything from mind-controlling funguses that will evolve to take over people to the more likely neurotropic viruses such as rabies. A neurotropic virus is similar to rabies in mad cow and is capable of accessing the nervous system and causing disease within the nervous system itself. Early symptoms include a state of fever, aches, and internal bleeding. It will spread through the brain, through the nervous system, similar to that of meningitis, but concentrating around the brain stem and then affecting outward. At some points later on, it will eventually cause the adrenal glands to hemorrhage and the brain to shut down to a state of near death. At some point later, the pathogen will revive the synapses within the brainstem itself, not including the cerebrum and the cerebellum, leaving everything that you were completely gone, but just reviving the vital systems so that your body has the natural instinct to hunt. Transmission will be similar to that of rabies. Through bites, but this means that depending on how contagious the virus is, it can likely be transmitted through the early stages through something like kissing or sharing a drink, which means that by the time that we all, are realizing it's there, we're pretty much all going to be doomed for it. After the virus takes hold, the transmission will likely be through bites, similar to that with rabies, which is highly designed and specialized to create the bite to be as contagious as possible. If you are bit, there is a possibility of removing the limbs which are bitten, but if you're bit on the neck or in the torso, you're pretty much done for. Your best option is to either hope that there's nobody around and that your natural immune system kicks in, or that somebody's going to stab you in the head. Another thing to keep in mind is that viruses rarely transmit between animals and humans. I know what you all are thinking. There's a lot of viruses such as Ebola, HIV, swine flu, pig flu, or swine flu, bird flu. But these are very rare when it comes to, actually what's available in the world. So if you see an animal and it seems unaffected, chances are you will be able to eat it if you take special care in making sure that you do not get, the blood in your system or you don't get bit. Also, if you have a pet dog who seems perfectly fine, you probably don't have to worry, similar to that of Ebola. He may be carrying the disease, but he's not going to eat your face off. So if you do get bit for whatever reason, just pay extra care for the animals. And I will pass it on to Delphina, who will tell you some basic tips for survival.
I don't know if you guys knew this, because I didn't know, and I was shocked to find it out that the CDC, or the Center for Disease Control, actually has on their website how to survive the zombie apocalypse. It's actually on there, which means it's official. It's gonna happen. So basically it says, you're better safe than sorry. Be prepared. Have an emergency kit, a zombie kit, whatever you want to call it. Basically, us living here in Florida, we should all be pretty much ready for the zombie apocalypse. I mean, if you're ready for a hurricane, you're going to have the basic stuff that you need. That's what they have on their website, like hurricane or pandemics or, when it actually happens, you want something that's gonna keep you over for a few days, at least until you find a zombie-free zone or an evacuation shelter. So basically they say on there you're gonna want, the basics like water, you're gonna want food, non-perishable items, things that don't go bad like canned food, any medications that you need, or, make sure you have it on there. You need tools, like a knife or batteries or a flashlight. Again, things that you need for a hurricane, a tornado, zombies. It's all going to be there. A radio, so you can hear what's going on, just to keep, with updates and things that are going on. Obviously, sanitation and hygiene, you're going to need like a toothbrush and stuff, and important documents. But if you're being attacked by a zombie and you're running for your life, I doubt that you're going to want to grab your ID really fast or something, a toothbrush. No, you're going to run for your life. But these are things like in the beginning that you want to make sure you have. Obviously a first aid kit just to treat like the minor cuts and scrapes. It's not going to do much if you do get bit by a zombie, unless you have a really sharp knife and you can, like she mentioned, cut off your arm if you absolutely need to. But those are the basic things. Some other things like goggles, just in case you obviously don't want to get the blood in your eyes, because that's not good. And then maybe a map and a compass, so if one area, has the disease or has whatever's going on, you're going to want to go the opposite direction. So keep a compass or a map, and a shovel, matches, fire. It's very important to have in survival, so you want to make sure you have ways to start a fire. And then obviously food and water. When you're thinking of survival, you obviously need food and water to survive. You can actually live about 1 month without food, but only about a week without water. It varies depending, on a lot of different your conditions, and then the individual in general. If you're a healthy person, your body's going to be more efficient at conserving your water, and so you'll probably live a little bit longer if you're a healthy person. But if you're not healthy, your body's not going to be as efficient. You'll probably live less than a week without water. And then also your environment. If you're in a colder environment, you may live a little bit longer. If you're in a hot environment, your body's going to be sweating. Again, it's going to be less than a week that you can survive without water. One other thing that I learned, apparently, you think of these survival stories and you think, well, one thing I learned is it's actually not good to drink your pee. I know, who would have thought that? Because, you think of these crazy survival stories of people having to drink their pee or having to cut off an arm, to live. And when we first started talking about this, that's one thing I said. It's like, oh, you gotta drink your pee. I don't know, I actually find it very interesting as to why it's not good. I don't know if I'm just weird, but apparently, as you become, well, from what I read, is you can actually do that, but only like once or twice, and it makes sense why, is because, as you become more dehydrated, your pee is actually the fluid from your body, but also waste products from your body. So, in the beginning, that first time or second time, your pee is actually going to have more fluid in it and less waste products. But as you continue to go on, it starts to become darker. When your pee is dark, it means you're dehydrated, so it's less fluid and more waste products. So the first time, second time, if you do it to survive, you're okay. But anything after that, it's going to be less fluid, more waste, and then your body's just going to have to work harder to process that, and so really that third or fourth time or anything after that, you're pretty much going to die of dehydration, because it becomes more harmful than helpful. So, moral of the story is don't drink your pee. One thing that you can do, which is actually learn to filter water or purify your water, like in emergency situations. One thing that you're going to want in your survival kit is charcoal, because you can actually use that to purify and filter your water. You make like, you get well, I'll show you, well, first I'll explain it. You get a bottle, and then you're gonna want like some grass, maybe some dirt and rocks, and then you want to layer that, layer that, and then add some charcoal, because charcoal actually is very porous, and it will actually collect the harmful elements like chlorine and dirt, and then you'll want to put more rocks and grass and sand and layer that on top, and then use like a shirt or a rag, maybe some tissues, and layer that all on top of each other in a bottle, and then when you pour your water in, it's going to collect in the charcoal and it's going to purify it, and then you'll want to put it in a cup, and then refilter it and do it again. So here is a video actually on how to...
Hi, I'm Benjamin. Today I'm going to show you how to purify water in emergency situation when you don't access to clean water, or you are not sure the water you want to drink is clean or not. I should mention that soldiers use this method to purify water in emergency situation as well. Okay, let's check it out. All you are going to need for this filtration is dirty water, a bottle, charcoal, mixture of clean sand and gravel, some tissues, or if you don't have tissues, you can use a piece of your cloth like your t-shirt. Step 1. Make 4 or 5 holes in the top of the bottle, then close it. After that, place a couple of tissues inside the bottle like this so it acts as a filter. Step 2. Add a little bit of the clean sand and gravel into the bottle. Step 3. Use small pieces of charcoal because it will help us to purify water better, so you can bash charcoal then use it for filtration. Wash the charcoal after bashing to remove black residue of the charcoal. I've bashed and washed it before. Right now, you should place 150 or 200 grams of charcoal inside the bottle like me. Step 4. Now add a little bit of sand and gravel again.
I just wanted to show you how you make it with the bottle, and then all he does is after the charcoal he layers more of the dirt or the sand and the gravel, and then puts more tissues on top, which you can use like a shirt or a rag, whatever that you have, and then you want to pour the water through, and then it's into a cup that he does, and then he refilters it again. So that's one thing that you can do for survival, just if you're in an emergency situation. But again, not everyone is going to have charcoal on them. So if you do have a way to, if you have fire, then you can actually just filter it through a shirt or a rag, whatever you have on you, filter it into the bottle, because that's going to collect a little bit of the dirt. And then filter it again through the shirt, maybe a different section of it, and just keep refiltering that water, and it's going to, each time the shirt's going to collect a little bit more dirt. And then you're going to want to boil it to purify it and kill bacteria and get all that done. So, that'll be a way to do it if you don't have charcoal. Because, not everyone's going to go and grab charcoal as they're being chased by a zombie or running for their life. It's not going to be something you can think of. But if you do have an emergency kit, just for survival in general, if you're stuck out, like he said, that soldiers use it. So if you have an emergency kit or something that just in case, it'd be a good thing to have if you're stuck out in the wilderness, or if you don't, if you just, so you can have clean drinking water, because it's obviously a priority. You need water to live. If you don't have it, you're going to die. You're not going to be able to survive very long. So basic survival skills. Obviously, one thing you're going to want is you're going to need a positive mental attitude. You have to think that you're going to survive, because if you think you're going to die, you've already given up. So you need to be positive, think that you can survive. Obviously, water, you want to look for, if you're out in the wilderness, look for signs of water. Find a river, find, anything that's water, and then also know how to purify it and filter it, and then just make sure everyone has water. So that's a big priority. Then food. Make sure you ration what you have so it lasts longer. Learn how to fish. Maybe local plants that you can eat. Hunting. Kill small animals, and if you have fire, go for a squirrel or something. If you have fire, then you can cook it and eat it. Obviously, you want to find shelter. You want to find a zombie-free zone, or something that you can stay in. Go away from the densely populated areas. And then obviously fire, you're going to need, make sure you have a modern way of starting a fire, like matches or a lighter, because it's not easy to start a fire without that. I mean, there are obviously ways you can do it with, the old-fashioned way of like rubbing a stick together, or you can actually use a magnifying glass, or to actually, from the sun, do it that way, or like a lens maybe. And then you obviously need fire to cook food. You need it to stay warm. So keep some matches or a lighter in your kit so that you're good to go. You can cook your food, purify your water, and then you'll be good to go. But those are the basic survival skills. Make sure you do all these. Have your emergency kit. Be prepared so that you're ready for whatever happens, whether it's zombies or a hurricane or a tornado, whatever it is. These are going to help you. Having a kit, be prepared. That's your first step to survival. So now I'm going to pass it over to Brandon. He's going to give you some other tips on how to survive the zombie apocalypse.
Alright, so how to defend yourself. So finding weapons in the zombie apocalypse is going to be crucial to your survival. There are different types of weapons in which you can choose from, and each type has advantages over other types of weapons. Your goal here is to be able to carry all your weapons on you without slowing you down. So the first class of weapons we have are melee weapons. You have batons, machetes, katanas, hammers, screwdrivers, and so on. These kind of weapons are essential for your up-close combat. They're lightweight and they don't really rely on any ammunition, so you can just keep using them. And they tend to be multi-use, so you can use them for more than just killing. You can open cans with them, or if you have like a hatchet or something, you can chop down firewood and things like that. Machetes can be found just by looting pretty much any neighborhood, so go on out and loot your neighbor's house and you'll probably find a machete somewhere. You want to make sure the blade isn't too dull and that the blade's actually pretty long, that way you don't have to get too close to your target. Hammers are also a common melee weapon. You'll pretty much find them in any house, and if you don't, it's kind of weird. Hammers are good for when you need to force a zombie to the ground. You can use the flathead to smack into the ground, and then you can turn it around and use the teeth end to really dig into the skull and rupture the brain. The con with the hammer is the lack of distance, so you got to be kind of accurate with it. If you don't, you're going to be missing an arm soon. Batons and riot gear shouldn't be too hard to find, but it might be in a congested area like the city. Once everything hits the fan, police and SWAT will try and maintain a peace between civilians and looters and other crime. So once these powers fall, riot shields, batons, SWAT gear, and other useful items such as tear gas or smoke grenades will be slowly made available. So soon, melee weapons won't suffice, and you'll have to, once you run into other people or get stuck between a handful of zombies. Handguns are generally easy to use, and ammo shouldn't be too hard to find, especially because we live in a southern state, and we Southerners love our weapons. So you can find handguns in pretty much any house, and you usually find a box or two of ammunition. People commonly have a 9mm somewhere in the home. The 9mm is a pretty decent weapon. They're reliable, and ammo is common to come by. You can also have up to 50 meters between you and your target. You probably won't hit 50 meters though, you have to be kind of a sharpshooter for that, but that kind of gives you, you can think you have 50 meters between you and your target, so you'll be able to shoot farther. The downside to handguns is that they rely on ammo, so you need to conserve it. You can't just go shooting off rounds. You have to make sure, if you shoot a bullet, you're using it to survive. The noise is also another issue. It can draw more zombies towards you, so you have to be careful where you're shooting them. Handguns should only be used if you're up against the wall, or if you have multiple zombies coming at you, so that way you can start thinning out the multiple zombies coming at you. So eventually you'll need heavier artillery than just a handgun. So if you want to withstand a herd or another group wanting to cause you harm, the AR-15 is a common rifle you'd find for this civilian use, AR-15 is usually what you get. It's a pretty standard rifle and it packs a punch, and it'll pretty much do what you want. It's like if you aim it at someone and you shoot, it's going to, they're not coming at you anymore. Ammo shouldn't be too hard to find early on, because usually if you have an AR-15, ammo is really hard to come by. So people stock up on it now when it's like cheap and it's in stores and whatnot. Due to our location, the Air Force Base would be a great place to find rifles. Air Force usually carries M4 carbines, MP5s, M16s, and you know when zombies rise that the base is going to be like one of the most highly guarded areas with weapons and ammunition and food and water. The con to looting it though is it's probably going to be overrun or another group's going to already be there, but the reward could be very beneficial, so you have to weigh like how much like you want stuff between getting shot at. The downside of rifles though are that they are very loud compared to handguns and your melee weapons, and can be heard for quite a distance. Another issue with rifles is that they jam pretty easily, so you just got to be careful. You got to upkeep it. You have to take care of your weapon, because if you don't, when you want to use your weapon, it could jam and you'll lose that fight. Rifles should only be used if you're under attack by a group wanting what you have, or if you have a herd of zombies coming your way. So overall, you want to try to get different types of weapons. You have your melee weapons for your close combat. You have your handguns for your mid-range, or if you're up against a wall, and you have your rifles for shootouts, and basically if a group tries to come after you. You want to make sure to take care of your weapons, because it's only a matter of time before your luck runs out. And now I'm going to pass out to Amanda, and she'll talk about morality.
Okay, so in a zombie apocalypse, everyone's going to be like in a crazy state of mind, and it's just going to be a shock, and you're going to go through basically the 5 stages of grief, basically. But really another great survival skill in anything, but more of a zombie apocalypse, is how to survive mentally. And you're going to want to be like physically stable and everything, but to get through it and actually survive through it and try to save humanity kind of thing is going to have a good mental state. I found this, and it's plain R. It's zombie apocalypse. How are you going to survive? If you do, are you going to join a group? Are you going to be the Lone Ranger? How are you going to get your supplies? And are you going to want to be the military hero? Or are you going to shine, basically? If you join a group, which is probably going to be your best bet, and are you going to be the main person, the group leader? Being a group leader, you're going to need a moral compass. It's heavy on the group leader as well, because when zombies, people start to turn, and and once people start to turn and everything, you're going to be close-knit, on your toes all the time. You have to make choices on whether or not do you try to save these people, do you keep moving, how far do you go to stay alive and keep other people alive as well? I mean, do you hope for a cure? Do you just kill them right on the spot? What do you do? It's difficult to make those choices, but as a moral compass, as a group leader as well, keep moving and everything, you have to make those choices. Again, with killing, when it first starts, you are going to be shocked and you're just going to run for it, basically. And that's where the basic survival skills and where do you go, high ground, Patrick Air Force Base, anything like that. Once it starts moving along and 20 days later, a year later, how many people are going to still be alive? How many zombies are going to be there? You're going to need to make those choices on whether or not do you try to save them, do you keep them going, do you kill them on the spot, like I said before. With this picture, zombies are coming out of the barn, and he actually knew this little girl, and he actually hesitated and he could have died. So it's that moral choice, and you have to make those choices on, even though this is your family or this is your best friend or your wife or daughter, they're not human anymore, and you have to protect yourself. With the suffering comes along with the zombie apocalypse. There's going to be a lot of death, there's going to be a lot of grief, and you really just have to make that break in your mind, and you're on survival mode. You completely have to shut off your morality and your humanity, and you lose it anyway, basically. And one of the good things about in a zombie apocalypse is that you have to make those choices on, my best friend just got bit, now do I let them suffer or do I kill them? And because they're going to be turned into a zombie anyway, and do I kill them later? Or do I let them have those last few minutes? Or do I kill them now and not let them suffer? When it comes to scavenging and pillaging and looting, basically when you think of pre-apocalypse, you know stealing is bad, we have laws, this and that, but when it comes to zombie apocalypse, I'm pretty sure all those laws are going to be going away. It's one for all for one, it's survival. And so try to find all the supplies you can get, try to join a group, try to stay alive is basically what it is. And like I said before, it comes all down to choice. Do you keep your humanity? How long do you last with that? This is going to affect you. And so for your best survival is basically to just turn it off. You're surviving, and that's really all you can do, is to lose your humanity, basically. And so really all this is, if the zombie apocalypse really does happen, I mean, according to the CDC, we're already preparing for it. People have already made bunkers underground and plans and everything. It's extensive, but you really, if you believe in all this, you really got to plan. You got to get your survival kit. You got to be prepared for it mentally, physically, and it's crazy how expensive this can get. But if you really do believe in this, plan for it now, and this will hopefully keep you alive.